All right, let's talk about what happened in Nashville because that is the exception that basically proves the rule. Now, I'm going to try to keep this as sensitive as possible about the actual perpetrator. It's not like I have objections to anything they represent, except for the fact that you maliciously went after a school to try to hurt children, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to be sensitive to you when you pull something like that because that just flushes my ability to be kind right on down the toilet. So now what am I talking about? The exception to prove the rule. Number one, all the firearms were legally purchased, which means there's no background check, expanded background check, expanded on top of an expanded on top of an expanded background check that could have prevented this. Clean record. Pass the background check. There's nothing you can do at that point. Next one, mental health. I don't know what it's like in Tennessee, but just the other day I heard on the radio here in Wisconsin, if you want to change sexes, you have to go to counseling to make sure it's a legitimate kink and you're not just some sort of schizophrenic with some sort of mental disorder. They want to just make sure, like, hey, you know, I have a kink of changing sexes, so I'm going to do that. It's not a mental disorder. So if it's that way in Texas, that means that there is no mental health checks, no medical checks, or anything like that that could have prevented this. Because clearly she passed all of them. Now again, it might be different in Nashville. Maybe you just go in there and you shell out some money and they change you right up. I don't know. I don't live there. But I'm going off of what Wisconsin's like. Next one. Soft target. She had a manifesto. Sorry. Still pronouncing that. Manifesto. She was specifically looking for a soft target. She actually had a different target picked out, but it wasn't soft enough, so she went after that particular school. Again, the exception that proves the rule. Not a kid. This was the hardest thing for me to swallow, actually. Like, typically when something like this happens, it's a kid, and I can pretty much chalk it up in my head as, oh, they experienced trauma at a very young age, because they still have a young developing mind. They haven't been able to deal with that yet, and so therefore, this particular thing happened. No, we're talking about somebody in their adult. I think almost 30. It was like 28 or something like that. They've grown past not being able to deal with trauma. I mean, if you've made it to 28 and you haven't figured out how to deal with trauma yet, we have a serious problem here. Usually it's like 23, 24 when somebody goes through their quarter life crisis and they're like, oh man, what am I doing? I need to get my life together. Like, and that's pretty much, basically when you get your head right is when your body starts falling apart. It just sucks, but that's the way it is. And typically, like, one day you open your eyes, you're 23, you're sitting at a bar, and you're like, I'm negative $10 in my checking account. Haven't even paid rent yet. It's time to get my life together. So we're way past that stage. We're at 28. Quarter life crisis happened like 5 years ago. And that's really hard to swallow. I mean, this wasn't just some sort of confused kid. This is somebody deliberately trying to spread a political message. Manifesto and all. Like, yeah. Next one. Not a dude. Yeah, it's a chick. It looks like a dude, but it's not a dude. It's legitimately a chick, which is extremely rare. Again, there is no pre-crime, no way to predict this ahead of time, because I guarantee, regardless what they would have done to try to prevent something like this from happening, a girl would have slipped through, because they're the minority. This typically doesn't happen with girls. It's almost always exclusively dudes. Yeah, it does happen, but again, that's the exception, not the rule. We're going back to, can it be prevented? And aside from prevention right there on the spot, no. Again, impossible to predict. The next thing that was just really strange about the whole thing was the Sub 2000. That is a particular firearm that is absolutely trash. It has a very small niche that it fits into, and that would be like hiking or something you would keep in your car, so, because it can fold up into a small space. from the videos I've seen, that seemed to be her primary choice in Firearm. So, that had an AR-15 but decided to go with the sub 2000. Again, a completely trash. The barrel is literally glued. You heard me correctly, glued on the frame. But again, that's the exception that proves the rule. Had access to an AR-15, chose to use a sub 2000. There's no firearm you can remove out of the roster, out of the firearms that are available, that could have prevented this, because the sub 2000 slips through all of them. There's no barrel shroud. You can get them without threaded barrels. You can get them with low capacity magazines. There is no restriction you can apply that would suck up the sub 2000. And we're not talking about just random guns here either. Like, normally it kind of seems like a last ditch, okay, I got this because I decided to do this. We have stickers on them. It's a show of customization, some sort of personalization with that particular firearm. So even with the personalization there, which means this chick is clearly into firearms. This wasn't just, oh, I want to cause a massacre, so I'm going to go out and get one really quick. No, she had formed a bond with these firearms, which is normal for people that are into guns. They'll do customizations on them, whether that's changing triggers, changing sights, doing stippling, putting, in this case, custom stickers on them. I'm not able to recognize what the stickers are. I just don't have a close enough view, and I don't recognize them as anything. But the bond was formed. So this wasn't, I need to get firearms because I want to commit a tragedy. This is, I have firearms. I want to spread a political message. This is how I'm going to do it. And that in itself is just weird, because normally when you are able to form a connection with something, whether that's a firearm, a puppy, a car, a house, some children, a family, usually if you can form some sort of mental connection with someone, you have a reason not to die. So I don't know if she thought she was actually going to get out of this alive, but she was in there for over 15 minutes. That in itself doesn't make sense. Like, again, this is the exception that proves the rule over and over and over again. Now, I know a lot of people's answer, I'm pretty sure even after Joe Biden got done talking about ice cream, his answer was, we need bigger government. And when something bad like this happens, it's normal for people to just latch on to the first answer, and most people's answer is, we need bigger government. But ask yourself this. We gave the government extreme power when it came to the lockdowns because there was this new threatening thing that we didn't understand. So we're like, hey, curve, what do they call it? Flatten the curve or whatever. Bring casualties down as low as possible. I love my grandma. I love my children. If you're saying this is what needs to happen, let's do it. Because I'm not willing to throw the dice and gamble with their lives. But look at what happened. We agreed to like 2 weeks. In some cases, it was 2 years. And they did not want to let the power go. Once you give them the power, they're going to latch onto it with their claws and their teeth, and they're not going to let go. Did they help anything at all when we gave them that power? Nothing we could have done ourselves. Wash your hands. If you feel inclined, wear a mask. Stay away from people. We could have all done that ourselves, but instead they're like, no, and they were arresting people for walking dogs, being out in public, telling you when and where you could and could not be. Did that help at all? No. No help whatsoever. So is bigger government the answer to things like this? No, I don't believe so. If anything, give teachers the freedom. If they choose, they could get a firearm, have it in the classroom, and when they seen her pull up with the camera and start shooting at the front door, they could have hypothetically set up an ambush. Would they have? I don't know. But it'd be nice to have that particular option. And that's what I'm talking about here, is just give them options. Because obviously background checks wouldn't have stopped it. And if they have the same transition laws as we do in Wisconsin, mental health checks would not have stopped it. She chose the target because it was a soft target where she could spread her particular flavor of political message. I didn't actually go through the manifesto, so I don't know what the message exactly was. but it was a political message, that i.e. terrorism. Are we going to let the actions of a terrorist affect the rest of us? This is America. Is trading freedom going to give us security? And if it does, is it worth the cost? My answer, no. We never get security. Again, look at what happened with the lockdowns. Did we gain anything? No. Were we any safer? No. As a matter of fact, a whole bunch of riots started and we became exponentially more dangerous. These problems need to happen or need to be solved on a smaller scale, on a case-by-case basis. If a particular school's like, hey, you know, we have vulnerabilities. We have so many doors. Maybe we want to completely concrete off a door since locked doors didn't work. You just shot through them. Maybe bulletproof glass. Or maybe we're going to arm some teachers. Or maybe the principal is going to go to a tactical training class and he's going to have an AR-15. It's got to happen on a case-by-case basis. I think if there is anything that can actually be done, allocate funding to schools that they can use as they see fit, because every school is different, every location is different, every school would have a different need when it comes to particular types of security. Having the government just blanket throw out, from now on all schools have bulletproof glass. Would that stop every single one? No. They would just drive their truck through the front door, or drive their little hybrid or whatever the hell she was driving. Every school will have a different need or a different soft point that could be shored up by the people that are actually there on the ground. So is the answer big government? Is that what we're looking at here to fix all this? No, that's a stupid answer. Never does big government fix anything. They always make things exponentially worse. Case in point, the United States Post Office. Need I say more? Anywho, appreciate you guys watching my video. I hope I didn't get too far out of the realm of sensitivity. Again, it's really hard when somebody does something like this to be sensitive about particular issues. If you would like to help support my channel, best way to do that is purchase a Freedom Beanie from ShopOnlyTacticalFans.com. Every dollar I raise from this will go to help me fight the ATF, in my particular case. Or I have affiliate links in the description down below. Just by clicking on those particular links, even if you don't purchase what that link is for, just clicking on it, doing the Amazon shopping you were already going to do anyway, I'll kick back for it because you came there off my channel. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.